$6.6 billion in debt, 33,000 employees laid off, and the collapse of over 700 stores. This is how the once mighty toy giant Toys R Us crumbled. Let's dive into what really happened to this beloved store and why it couldn't survive in the modern retail landscape. Rise of a toy empire. Toys R Us wasn't always the toy empire we came to know. Its story began in 1948 as a humble baby furniture store named Children's Bargain Town, opened by Charles Lazarus after he returned from serving in World War II. At the time, Lazarus didn't even have toys on his radar. But as fate would have it, customers coming in for baby furniture started asking for toys to entertain their children. Lazarus, ever the entrepreneur, quickly recognized the potential. Soon, toys began to outsell baby furniture, and by 1957, Lazarus had fully shifted his focus, opening the first Toys R Us store. His vision was revolutionary: create a store that sold toys year-round, unlike most department stores, which only stocked them seasonally. He wanted Toys R Us to be like a supermarket for toys, a place where you could find everything you needed for kids under one roof with a no-frills warehouse-style approach. And for decades, this strategy worked like a charm. Geoffrey the Giraffe and the power of branding. Toys R Us wasn't just known for its vast selection of toys. It had a unique brand identity, which helped solidify its place in pop culture. In 1969, the company introduced its beloved mascot, Geoffrey the Giraffe. He quickly became the face of the brand, and along with the catchy jingle, "I don't wanna grow up, I'm a Toys R Us kid," created an emotional connection with customers. These marketing strategies made Toys R Us more than just a store. It became part of childhood itself. Kids everywhere could sing the jingle by heart, and the sight of Geoffrey was enough to spark excitement in any child. By the 80s, Toys R Us had become the dominant player in the toy industry, a category killer that crushed smaller competitors. With its massive 45,000 square foot stores and more than 18,000 toys in stock, it was the go-to destination for toys. Parents loved the low prices that the company could offer by buying in bulk directly from manufacturers, and kids loved the sheer variety of toys they could find in one place. At its peak in the late 1980s, Toys R Us controlled 1/5 of the US toy market. The threat of discount retailers. But by the 1990s, the retail landscape was changing. Major discount retailers like Walmart and Target were starting to grow aggressively. These companies offered a wide range of products, including toys, often at lower prices than Toys R Us. For parents, the convenience of picking up toys at Walmart or Target while doing their regular shopping was a big draw. This shift in consumer behavior marked the beginning of a slow decline for Toys R Us. While Toys R Us was still a toy powerhouse, it struggled to keep up with the competition. Walmart in particular started selling toys at razor-thin margins, sometimes even at a loss, just to lure in customers. Toys R Us responded by trimming its toy selection to focus on only the most popular items. But that decision came with a downside. Reducing its famous variety made it less appealing as a destination for toys. Over time, shoppers started associating Toys R Us with higher prices and fewer choices, weakening the brand's appeal. The missed digital opportunity. The rise of the internet in the early 2000s added another layer of complexity to the retail industry. As more and more people began shopping online, Toys R Us found itself lagging behind. In 2000, the company made a deal with Amazon, agreeing to pay the e-commerce giant $50 million a year to be the exclusive seller of Toys R Us products online. While this partnership initially seemed like a smart move, it ended up backfiring in the long run. For one thing, Toys R Us gave up control of its online presence, allowing Amazon to dominate in the online toy space. Worse yet, Amazon eventually began allowing other toy retailers to sell on its platform, effectively cutting into Toys R Us's market share. This led to a legal battle, which Toys R Us won, but by the time the deal ended in 2006, the damage was done. They had missed the opportunity to build its own e-commerce infrastructure, and Amazon had learned a lot from its partnership with Toys R Us, lessons it used to become a major player in the toy business. Leveraged buyout, the debt trap. But perhaps the biggest blow to Toys R Us wasn't competition or the rise of online shopping, it was debt. In 2005, the company was bought out in a leveraged buyout by Bain Capital, KKR, and Vornado Realty Trust for $6.6 billion. In a leveraged buyout, the buyers use borrowed money to make the purchase, and that debt ends up on the company's books. In the case of Toys R Us, this meant that the company was suddenly saddled with billions of dollars in debt. Every year, they had to make massive interest payments, about $400 million annually, which left them with very little money to reinvest in their stores or improve their business model. While the retail company had once been the leader in the toy industry, the debt from the leveraged buyout made it nearly impossible to innovate or keep up with competitors like Walmart, Target, and Amazon. It's important to understand that while Toys R Us was facing external pressures, it was the weight of this debt that truly crippled the company. Even as sales began to decline in the 2010s, Toys R Us had to keep pouring money into paying down interest rather than upgrading stores or investing in its digital platform. The final years and bankruptcy. In September 2017, Toys R Us filed for bankruptcy, hoping to restructure its debt and get back on its feet. The plan was to close some underperforming stores and focus on its core business. But things didn't go as planned. The holiday season of 2017, which was supposed to help turn things around, ended up being a disappointment. With major debt payments looming and no significant increase in sales, Toys R Us couldn't stay afloat. By March 2018, the company announced that it would be closing all of its US stores and liquidating its assets. This marked the end of an era, as over 700 stores shut their doors for good and some 33,000 employees lost their jobs. It was a sad day for those who grew up with Toys R Us, but even sadder for the employees who had spent decades working for the company. In a heartbreaking twist, Charles Lazarus, the founder of Toys R Us, passed away just days after the company's liquidation was announced. It was almost as if the end of Toys R Us was the final chapter in his life story. Post-bankruptcy and the future of the brand. While Toys R Us as we knew it is gone, the story isn't completely over. After the liquidation, the brand and intellectual property were purchased by a group of creditors, and in 2019, a new parent company called True Kids Brands was formed. True Kids has since tried to bring Toys R Us back in a limited capacity. They've opened a few pop-up stores and partnered with Target to relaunch their e-commerce business. But it's unclear whether these efforts will be enough to revive the brand in any meaningful way. The reality is that the toy industry has changed. Kids today are more interested in video games, apps, and digital entertainment than traditional toys. And with retailers like Amazon and Walmart dominating the online space, it's hard to see how Toys R Us could ever regain its former glory. The lessons of Toys R Us's fall. So what lessons can we take from the fall of Toys R Us? One of the biggest takeaways is the importance of adapting to changing consumer behaviors and staying ahead of trends. The company failed to do this on multiple fronts. It didn't invest in its online presence when it had the chance, and it didn't innovate its in-store experience to compete with Walmart, Target, or Amazon. But beyond that, the company's crushing debt from the leveraged buyout proved to be the final nail in the coffin. Even with its loyal customer base, Toys R Us simply couldn't generate enough revenue to keep up with its debt payments. The result was a slow decline that eventually led to bankruptcy and liquidation. Toys R Us may be gone, but its memory lives on for millions of people who grew up wandering its endless aisles, dreaming of the perfect toy. Thanks for watching, and be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments. Did you have a favorite memory from Toys R Us? And do you think it could ever make a real comeback? Let's keep the conversation going.